Okay, it's close. Okay, I'll call a meeting to order of our regular meeting, Tuesday, December 30th. And.
December 20th.
That's what I said, December 20th.
No, you said 30th.
Sit over there. Okay. Roll call, please.
Directors Fardonish,
Here.
Nardini,
Here.
Logan,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
and Peterson.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Oh, I think we have some public, so. Time for our public comment, and members of the public may address the board on any item of interest. Within the subject jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. In compliance with the Brown Act, the board cannot discuss or act on items not on the agenda. However, board members or district staff members may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public. Additionally, on their own, they may ask questions for clarification. So, do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go right to the consent agenda. In the consent agenda, we have the minutes for December 6th, 2022, treasurer's report approving for October 2022, and resolution number 30, 2022. So any
I'm unable to vote on the minutes from the last meeting, so we vote on that separately.
Okay. Is there any public comment on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, any board members, please?
So I'll make a motion that the board approve item A, the minutes of the regular meeting of the board on December 6th, 2022.
Awesome.
We have the motion made by Director Logan, seconded by Director Fardonish.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Fardonish,
Aye.
Nardini,
Recuse.
Pearson, and Peterson.
Yes. I have a motion for B and C consent
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
roll call, please.
Directors Fardonish,
Aye.
Nardini,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Pearson, and Peterson.
Yes. Okay, the next item is our business, and I guess I forgot to ask the board if they wanted to switch the order of business for any reason.
No.
So the first item is Measure A, Oversight Committee Report, and I'll turn that over to General Manager.
Yes, so as the board is well aware, in August of 2019, the voters of the district approved Measure A, and Measure A enacted an ordinance that enables us to collect a partial tax to fund 24/7 fire and emergency services. As a part of Measure A, the board was required to appoint an oversight committee. The oversight committee is commissioned with reviewing expenditures and revenues associated with Measure A to ensure that any expenses associated with, or any of those monies that are associated with Measure A were spent in a way that's compliant with the ordinance that was approved by the voters. Dan Mosinich is here as the chairperson for the Measure A Oversight Committee. This is the second year that committee has prepared an independent report to you. And Dan authored the report that's attached to the board packet. And I thank him for attending tonight and making any comments that he has about the committee's work.
Good evening, Board of Directors. My name is Dan Mosinich. I am a 32-year resident of Templeton. And tonight I speak to you from the role of the chairperson of the Measure A Oversight Committee. The brief purpose of my presentation, the brief presentation, is just to provide an annual update to the Board of Directors of the Measure A funds, as well as to affirm the appropriate use of those funds. As General Manager Brose mentioned a moment ago, Measure A was passed in August of 2019. It had over 70% approval from the community in Templeton for 3 specific outcomes. One was a 24/7 fire and emergency service program, the ongoing training and retention of qualified firefighters, and a reduction in emergency response times. Voters voted, or the community voted, to tax themselves up to, at least to start, at $185 per parcel per year. It goes up a little bit with cost of living increases with each year, but that's what they voted to tax themselves on to help reach those goals. Because of the financial side of the matter, a committee was seated, as General Manager Brooks mentioned a moment ago, an oversight committee, and that consists of Steve Barkley, Rod Hewitt, and myself. And our role is primarily to make sure that the funds that are collected are used as directed by the bylaws. This last year alone, we collected, or the district collected, just under $500,000 in Measure A funds, using the parcel fee as the source of those funds. And those funds are to be used for personnel, for equipment operations and maintenance, and for facility operations and maintenance. The team met with General Manager Brooks, Financial Officer Natalie Klock, and Chief Peterson twice during the course of the fiscal year. We listened, we asked questions so that we could understand what the budget, how it was created, and how those funds are being used. And we unanimously agreed that those funds are indeed being used as directed by the Measure A bylaws. Just as valuable and really underlying the whole purpose for using those funds correctly, that the original intent of Measure A right now those original intentions are being met. There is 24/7 fire and emergency service offering in our community. We have the benefit of having a full-time chief, 3 captains, and an engineer to provide consistency in terms of not only teamwork and training, but also to help work plans on how to use those funds as effectively as possible. And finally, response times are decreasing. Even though the calls are increasing, response times are decreasing, as based on the chief's March report to his annual report. So all that is good news, and I just want to bring that information to your attention. I want to thank certainly Chief Peterson, General Manager Brooks, as well as Natalie Klock for their oversight and administration and problem solving skills to help this happen. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Are there any questions from the board? Any comments?
Just wanted to thank you for your service, because I know it's not paid and it's well needed for us to have this oversight committee. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to ditto Director Giardini's comments as well. Thank you for volunteering to chair the committee and even serve on the committee. It's something that I think you and 2 other individuals have done since 2020, if I recall. So do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your report, and I'm very happy to hear how the fire department is doing. I think when we got on 6 years ago, fire department was a mess, and it was about to, some people were talking about going to CAL FIRE, and we may, possibility of not having the fire department. But now the situation that we're in, thanks to Measure A, thanks to all the hard work that everyone did to pass Measure A, and we were able to now have a staff, have our chief who's leading the department, fantastically. And I really appreciate having you guys having the oversight because that was a promise that we made to the voters, that we're gonna have an oversight committee. So you have a very important role, and I appreciate that seriously you taking that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I also would like to thank you and just ditto whatever the board said. Another 7 years and you'll be tied with me for when I was on the school bond oversight committee. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the report?
I'll make a motion that the board accept the Measure A Oversight Committee's report as written and submitted.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Gardini,
Aye.
Fardonish.
Aye.
Pearson. Aye. And Peterson.
Yes. Okay, the next item on our agenda. If I can read it. It's the fire code amendment for 2022, and I assume that Chief Peterson is going to speak on that behalf.
Yes, I am. Thank you, President Peterson and members of the board. Every 3 years, the state of California updates the fire code and the building codes throughout the state and adopts a new code section. So all local jurisdictions can review and adopt and amend sections of that code. We can become more restrictive, not less restrictive, based on the government code section. We can make modifications, changes, those types of things to the code through our local adoption. Tonight is attached is ordinance 2022-2, which will add chapter 6.16 to the Tampa Community Service District Code and adopts the 2022 code, fire code, incorporating Templeton's local amendments into the code and changing those particular code sections. We have not added anything that is more restrictive than what we've had. Essentially what you're getting tonight is modifications and changes to specific sections. And that's really all this code adoption is. We've made some minor tweaks and some past errors where we've done some stuff with sprinklers that wasn't quite allowed. We've corrected those. And now everything looks good, but we have not increased any or added any code adoptions or more restrictions to the code. Also attached is a proposed resolution 31/2022 that set forth the findings required in the health and safety code that allows us to make these adoptions. So at this point in time, staff recommends that the board adopt the resolution, introduce the ordinance, and then schedule a hearing. And staff again has submitted the resolution and the adoption, and I'm available for any questions.
Any board member, Sam?
I have a question on accessory dwelling units. If the primary residence is not sprinklered and build an ADU, what is the requirement on a new ADU?
So that's state law, and if the primary residence is not sprinklered, the ADU does not have to be sprinklered.
So that's remaining the same.
That's remaining the same. We can't change that at a local level.
Okay.
That's not something that's changeable. We cannot be more restrictive on that element. However, if the primary residence is sprinklered, then the ADU has to be sprinkled.
So on new occupancies converted to conditioned habitable space, I thought if somebody had a detached garage and they converted it to an ADU, that then the ADU would still not be required to be sprinkled if the primary was not sprinkled. It's under your note, it says,
That is correct if it's classified an ADU through
county.
county planning and building.
Okay, got it. go on to, I had one more question, but it was further down, so. Here. Somebody else has a question, you can jump in.
Are there any?
I don't have any questions.
Is there,
On the spot.
ready or do I go to the public?
Go to public.
Is there any public comments or questions at this time? Seeing none, it's all yours, Director Giardini.
Dead end roads. I thought it was 5 or more and you have 3 or more parcels here.
Yeah, no, it's in the fire code, it's always been 3 or more. Yeah, that's appendix D, I believe. I'd have to check the actual section, but in appendix D, it talks about dead end roads and how many dwelling units can be on a dead end road before it's required to be 20 foot in width.
That's if it's over 150 feet then, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do we need to add that in there?
It's in there. It's in the actual code.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm happy now.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
no worries.
Just want to reiterate, this is a little bit unusual of a little more substantive process than most ordinances. In that this ordinance needs a 30-day period between its first reading and its second reading in order to provide adequate time for the public to participate. That's why the hearing is recommended to be set for February 7th. So it's not your next board meeting, it's the one that follows it with more than 30 days in between. We also have to give the county 30 days to review our proposed code adoption for their comment. And then even if the ordinance is approved on February 7th, it doesn't take effect until a county actually takes action on it at a subsequent date. Again, you can do all 4 of these actions in one motion if you would like, or you can split them up, whatever you're more comfortable with.
I'll make a motion that the board accept staff's recommendation 1 through 4. 1 being adopt resolution number 31-2022. And number 2, introduce ordinance number 2022-2 by title only and waive the full reading. Number 3, schedule a public hearing for February 7th, 2023 at the regular board meeting to consider adoption of ordinance number 2022-2. And number 4, direct staff to submit resolution number 31-2022. Proposed ordinance number 2022-2 and all required documentation to the County of San Luis Obispo as required by the Health and Safety Code section 13869-7.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Bardonish,
Aye.
Gardini,
Yes.
and Pearson. Aye.
Okay, general manager.
Yeah, thank you much. Just a couple of items I wanted to bring to your attention. Just last Friday afternoon, we got word that the IWMA approved what's known as the educational flyers for SB 1383. That's this multicolor flyer in English and Spanish. This is required to be distributed to all refuse customers in compliance with 1383. This is the first kind of educational tool that's going out. There's been some question of, at least by the committee, the Parks Recreation Records Committee, about any of these materials will be going out. So this is what the IWMA has sort of agreed to. This has taken them most of a year to kind of come up with the way that they were going to picture the various elements. Essentially, what we're being asked to do now is items belonging either in the blue, that's commingled recycling cart, or the green organics recycling cart, and only those items that cannot fall into one of those 2 carts, if you're at home, go into the black container. So if you dispose of an item that is recyclable, either organically recyclable or commingled recyclable in the blue cart, and you put it in the black cart, you're improperly disposing of it. This is kind of new, right, in terms of the sort of little bit more heavy-handedness in terms of the future enforcement. So this flyer will go out in the mid-state's February utility bill, and then we've elected to actually send it out in our next the district's next utility bill, the water and sewer bill. So customers will receive this twice, once in early January, once in early February. Additionally, it's also been posted on our website. And then Midstate also now has in their possession heart stickers, which resemble the same picture, both in English and Spanish. And any cart that is delivered to a customer, it was supposed to be starting on January 1st of this year, but it's all been a little bit delayed. In the future should have these materials on them. So new customer, or if you request a replacement cart due to like damaged cart or something like that, or even a commercial bin, will have a sticker with the proper use of that container going forward. Additionally, we also received from from IWMA, some information on AB 1276. Since we are the solid waste provider for our community through Midstate, we are the enforcement arm and through IWMA of AB 1276. You might not have heard as much about this, but these materials are going out to all restaurant type establishments. And you've probably started to realize that this is when you go to a restaurant, takeout or something like that, they're no longer providing you with all of these items in your bag, or they should not be. Basically, single-use foodware items, condiments, etc., are upon request only or self-select only. Additionally, restaurants cannot prepackage like forks, knives, and spoons in a single container. They must be individually selected or chosen. So I'm just letting you know that this is now available. We posted this on our website, and then additionally we've made a request to IWMA so that we can have some copies of these decals, and then we're going to provide them to restaurants when we're out on site for fats, oils, and grease inspections or education as well, just so those restaurants hear about it. So more information will be coming out, and folks will start to kind of understand how both those new laws work. And then secondly, and not related at all, just a reminder of our upcoming holiday closures. Because this year the holidays fall primarily on the weekends, we are closed this Friday, December 23rd for Christmas Eve. We're closed Monday, December 27th for December 26th for Christmas Day. We're closed the second half of next Friday, the 30th for New Year's Eve, and we're closed on Monday, January 2nd for New Year's Day. So when I say the closures, that'll affect all of the district's offices, the utility crew, although we will have a person on call, and the administrative functions of the fire department. The fire department will still be, of course, staffed 24/7 during those holidays.
Any questions for General Manager Rhodes? So any public question for General Manager Rhodes? Yeah,
If I can just share, it just seems like we are further along in our community in terms of how we sort our garbage or waste than many other communities. At least that's the impression I get. Listen to what you're sharing and see what other communities are doing, especially in other states.
Yeah, certainly California is at the forefront of a lot of these efforts, but I think our experience is that our community does a better job with diversion than some others, at least, even though the same services are provided in other communities, our diversion rates are oftentimes higher than our surrounding communities. We've got a audience that's a little bit more environmentally compliant, and so we hope that means that we'll have better success, because really it's what's going from goals and targets to mandates under these new laws. And so if we can continue to do a great job, I think that means that our approach will be more simplified, and we won't have to be as heavy-handed with customers. But the law does require that the hauler perform route inspections including inspections of what's in carts before the route is, before it's collected. And there's also an obligation of the hauler to not collect contaminated load. So it's a very different approach than what we're used to, was really more targeted towards do the best you can and we'll pick up your garbage, to it's got to fall into these proper categories, otherwise it's your problem at home. And if you're anything like our family, if the garbage cans get full, it creates a little stress with having to store all that stuff in the garage. And so if you don't sort it properly, you might end up with that kind of problem.
I put it in the neighbors. Any other comments from the public? Okay, moving right along, committee reports, I don't see any.
Did you want me to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, why don't we do that under 10, activity updates?
Or not on the committee?
Yeah, well, this is kind of a new thing, and I'm not sure the difference between a committee report and an activity update report, but what you're saying is they've got all of the committee under the update.
Oh, the activity update reports are from staff. Those are the staff report that you get every month from each of these areas, and then.
Okay, so the committee reports, yeah, does any board member would like to discuss any other meetings they've had or reports?
Well, okay, I just wanted to quickly mention the Parks, Recreation and Solid Waste Committee met last week with about the issue of IWMA. If everyone remembers, a couple of months back, the board had requested for us to look at options other than, IWMA, what we could do to possibly go a different direction away from IWMA. So we had a couple of meetings, and the first meeting that we had the Mid-State Solid Waste there. And we asked them to go and investigate to see what they could do for us. Because at the time we realized that there were really no other options except Mid-State Solid Waste. So they went ahead the last couple of months. They were looking at all the things that they need to do to be able to comply with all the new, this new regulation. And so the meeting that we had last week, they came back and they reported to us. At the meeting, we also had our attorney, David Hirsch, there as well. Basically, what David Hirsch said, that he had some concerns for us because we're a small jurisdiction. For us, if we step away from IWMA, it's going to be difficult to go through all, to do all the regulation, and it's going to put basically some undue burden on our staff. So it's going to take a lot of time. So he has some concern with that also. He wasn't sure if it was a good idea for Mid-State Solid Waste to do all the compliance issues, because then there was no oversight. And then talking to Mid-State Solid Waste, they were a little bit, they were hesitant as well. They said they could do it, but they're not sure how it's gonna go. And they're willing to try it if we want for a year or two, but it may not work out. The problem is, if it doesn't work out, and if we want to go back to IWMA, we may not be able to, and then we'll get stuck. So based on all that, and then another thing is, as everyone knows, the board of supervisor dynamic is probably going to be changing too. So there may be more members that are willing to join IWMA again, as far as county is concerned. So if that happens, the cost from IWMA may go down. Also, IWMA themselves are looking at ways to reduce costs. So we'll see if that works out. So based on all that information that we got, both of board members on the committee, we agreed that we're going to make recommendation to the board that for now we stay with IWMA. And I think that would be something that is going to come back. The minutes probably, I'm assuming, going to be at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I haven't received the review.
I haven't sent it.
Okay, all right. So that would be, and I think if we want to discuss it more, we could certainly can at that point, but I'm happy to answer any questions right now too. But that's basically the gist of what's happening.
Yeah, and given the fact that I think really what started that and prompted it was the fact that the IWMA did not allow special districts in San Luis Obispo County to have more representation. We were limited to just one representative and one alternate, where all of the other cities in the county had a seat at the table. So I think that's what prompted it. And I would, I mean, just looking at, and there are some costs that get passed on to us, but I think for us being as small as we are, to take on the full scope of responsibility that IWMA provides for us, we would have to hire staff to do that. There's no way our existing staff could do that, but then you would also have probably higher legal costs to ensure compliance. So as much as I, really upset about the fact that the IWMA, shut us out with not having more representation, I think that their policy is also such that they're not going to pursue anything beyond that which is required by state law. So it doesn't mean that they're, so in terms of votes, I'm not sure that there would be much to vote on, because their focus is not taking on, oh, well, let's, do away with polystyrenes, with something else. That's not required by state law. So I think because that got resolved, so I would support that decision not to move forward with, doing more exploration on setting up our own agency.
It's gonna be challenging.
Yeah.
We'll have an agenda item. to-
Yes. Yeah.
Is there any other questions or comments? Any from the public?
May I ask what IWMA stands for or what it is?
Yes, our apologies. It's San Luis Obispo County Integrated Waste Management.
Authority.
Thank you.
One thing, this is just a comment, I think they should have put styrofoam in their graphics. Because styrofoam has a recycled symbol on it, yet you're not supposed to.
It's recyclable, but it's not practically recyclable in that there isn't a facility in this county that can recycle it. So if you put it in your blue container, it will end up in the landfill.
It's to cause a bit of argument in our house. If I keep thinking it's not recyclable, and apparently my husband's right, then it ends up in the landfill.
Technically, you're both right. You can put it in a blue bin, but it'll end up in the landfill.
Okay, any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, next item is the the staff activity update report. I only see one.
I just wanted to note that there was an updated sheet, the Riverwell supply on the utilities report we passed out. We also posted this to the website, updated. A very minor correction was made. It's immaterial.
Any comments? Any? Is that a no? Or is that a-
No comment.
Any public comments? Seeing none, the director's reports and or comments.
I have some good news for the Templeton Rec Foundation. We did get a $5,000 a month endowment, so official press release, I think, will be coming shortly, but I'm pretty excited about it for the Templeton Recreation Foundation.
That's great.
5,000 every month.
From what I understand, that's why I'm saying an official press release,
Okay,
not with the details, but that's what I was told.
Melissa's gonna want to raise.
Well, it's the Templeton Rec Foundation.
It was great. Any other comments?
I've not attended any meetings, so.
Any public questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I guess it's time to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for attending, and Dan, you have to show up more often. We miss you. We got used to having you there, and all of a sudden.
It was, yeah.